I actually worked in orthodontics for 13 years prior. He saw that leadership capability in me. It kind of took me back to that in my childhood to be, I'm going to be bigger and better than that and not just be a statistic. I would say people are the biggest challenge. We have procurement. That's why we have a marketing person. It's why we have this, why we have financial. You have all those key people set in place to monitor, and then you got the key people in the practices to hold accountable what's going on in that practice. Gratitude. You know, that's the biggest thing for me is every night before I go to bed, I say like 5 things I'm grateful for that happened that day. It could be the smallest. That could be someone that you're not. People appreciate it more when you're exactly who you are. We're in the people business, and that's never going to change. You could bring whatever AI technology you want in, but there are still going to be people in this industry. Managing and leadership are 2 different things. People want to follow leaders. People report to managers.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 30th episode of Dance Month. Are we there yet? No?
Nice.
I think we're getting up.
Well, one day. So
One day.
we have the amazing Michal Butler, the right hand of Brad Hughes, if I may.
Basically.
Left hand.
The boss of
We'll tell him that, though.
He's basically the brains. Brad is just the body.
I'm the street smarts. Yeah, he's the brains. I'm the street smarts.
There you go.
Yeah.
Michal, thank you so much for your time. If you may
Absolutely.
introduce yourself. And by the way, it's not Michael, it's Michal. So
Yes.
just clarify for
Yeah.
listeners.
Yep. It's Michal. So yeah, I am the director of operations for Vision Dental Partners, going on almost 12 years now. So we started off with 1 office, and now we have 8 and growing, and it's pretty excited to, I'm pretty excited to be a part of it. Yeah. From like every step.
Why did you come into dental, and why Brad Hughes out of all the dentists?
So actually, it's funny. So I've actually known him for almost 16 years. I was in the orthodontic field. I actually worked in orthodontics for 13 years prior. And this is funny because I guess it'll take you back to how that all started. I had open heart surgery in 2013. So I was on medical leave from the ortho office, and I had surgery end of March in 2013. I was home recovering, and he had come over to just to kind of check up on me. Like I had a bunch of friends and family there to see how I was doing. It just so happens he was talking about the office and how he had a couple of front desk ladies that were stealing money from him. And he was like front desk list that time. So I had suggested I could help you for a little bit, at least until I go back to work, because currently right now I'm on, medical leave, but I could help at the front as much as I can while I'm, waiting to go through physical therapy. And that's how it all started. I had open heart surgery into March, and I started with him beginning of May. And I just never went back to ortho. I learned dental like nobody's business. I started in the back room, like he kind of put me in the back room, hid me away from people. And I started working on the aging and the 90-day and over. At that time, it was so high. And I learned dental quickly by doing it that way. I mean, you kind of learn what, the insurance companies want. And I probably spent a good, 3 months in the back just working on that and answering the phones as best as I could. And now here I am, 12 years later, the director of operations for our, 8-figure group. Kind of exciting.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And if you had to, with all the knowledge that you have, if you had to go 12 years back, would you do this again?
Yeah, I would. I have a lot of drive, and it really made me feel like a stronger person because I wanted so bad to help him because I felt bad for the situation he was in. And I knew my work ethic and the kind of strong individual I was. He didn't know that side yet. Like when you're friends with somebody, you don't really know their work ethic or how much time they put in or what they're willing to, do, right? Or the loyalty, so to speak. And I mean, I've been in ortho for 13 years and worked for the same doctor for half of that. I just wanted to help, and I wanted to prove that I could do it, and then to show him that I was a hard worker, that not just a friend, but like professional as well. I mean, here I am. Like he'll even make comments every now and then, and I had no idea that you were such a hard worker and that you could do what you did for for me, essentially in the one practice. But at the same time, he really brought out a side of me, like a leadership side that I didn't know that I was capable of either. You know, like I've always used to use this phrase, I'm not a leader, I'm a follower. I don't even think I really knew what that meant when I would say that. And he would always say, no, you're not. You are a natural leader. People go to you for things because you get stuff done. And it's the way you talk to people with respect and you're professional. And it's just, I feel like I skipped a few roles and then here I am, you know? So yeah, I wouldn't, honestly, I wouldn't change a thing. It's helped me become the leader and I guess the businesswoman that I am today.
Well, that's about to change because we're gonna triple your salary and can come work with us.
You know, everybody wants to when they meet me. No. But yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes you have something to prove to yourself too. You think that, you know, especially when you say to yourself, nah, I'm a follower, not a leader. And then when someone points out that you're not, then you almost like, okay, I got to prove myself wrong then. Because what can I do to actually show myself that's really who you are and that I can excel in that? And I mean, it helps when you're street smart because I grew up in I grew up in Southern California. So I grew up very poor. We were on welfare for a good bit of, you know, my, you know, childhood. I mean, like we lived in a car for a little bit of it. So I had no idea what it was like to be in a business world or any of that. You know, I just chose for myself not to be a product of my raising and I wanted to be different. I didn't want to be like the other people that I grew up with. And that's the choice you have to make for yourself. And when he saw that leadership capability in me, it kind of took me back to that in my childhood to be, I'm going to be bigger and better than that and not just be a statistic.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that story is so, I think, you know, that's what's amazing is that our past sometimes become a driving factor for what our future is going to look like. I think I told, you know, me and Masood, we are both immigrants. We come from that immigrant mentality, you know, and our past, at least my past wasn't so easy. And I'm sure Masood is the same. And I think every time that we get into anything, our past kind of becomes our driving factor of like, hey, like you said, I don't want to be that just a number. I don't want my past to kind of determine what my future is going to look like.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a strong message. I always tell people, I'm like, the past is past. Focus on what the future is and just try to get better every single day. You know, the one thing that I'm interested to know is what is, as a director of operation, I know that, you know, Dr. Brad, you know, we practice dentistry. We're good at what we do. He's good at what he does. I'm sure he has a ton of experiences. But as a director of operation of, you know, 8 practice offices, what are some of the challenges that essentially you see day to day that you're like, man, like this is the one that I don't know what to do? Like, what is some of those challenges on the day to day on the business side of dentistry?
I mean, people, right? People be peopling nowadays is like the best. It's getting people on board to buy into like our vision and our mission, right? Core values, that type of thing. Core value fit and culture fit it's huge because someone can interview so well and then they get into the practice and you're like, I don't even know who this person is or how did they get past the interview process. That's the biggest challenge because, you know, we're in the people business. We don't have robots doing the dental work or any of that. You could take away your front desk, but you still have clinical, you still have your doctors, you still have your assistants. I would say people are the biggest challenge because the processes I can fix every day and I can create an SOP for anything and a video for anything and I can get that down pat. But if you don't have the right person on board, it doesn't matter. I'm doing all the work then, right?
Absolutely. I think that was the exact conversation that I was having this week with my office manager. I think the biggest challenge in dentistry right now, I think, one is the staffing, like you said. It's like bringing the right people in to making sure that their vision kind of aligns with the doctor and the staffing and all that. And like you said, some people, they interview well because you're like, all right, I'm going to hire them for their attitude and not for their skill set. And then you bring them in, their entire demeanor changes. So I absolutely agree that I think that's the biggest thing that we deal with day in, day out, because the dentistry side of it is easy, but the dealing with the people side is the hardest thing. Why do you think that's so challenging in our field? Why? I think dentistry in general, it's a little bit more difficult than other field. Why do you think that is?
It's weird because it's almost like back in high school where everybody has their like little cliques and you don't fit in. It's like everybody wants to pick their clique, and then if something goes wrong in that clique, then they're gonna jump to another one and jump to another one and jump to another one. It's the mentality is it's not what can I do for you, but it's what you can do for me. And if you're not constantly catering to that, I feel nowadays it's very different. But if you're not constantly catering to that, that's where the issue is. I always I take it back to high school because when I'm having, I mean, a lot of women in dentistry, right? A lot of our assistants are women, our hygienists are women, doctors, whatever. And it can be very catty, and it's trying to take them back to remember what high school was like and how you didn't like that and you like being bullied. It's kind of what we're doing now. And then I got to be like the teacher or the mom and say, stop bullying people, stop, stop jumping ship every time something goes wrong. The grass is green where you water it. And so many people just want to move to the next job thinking that it's better, it's better, it's better. They're just not willing to put the time, effort, and energy in to where they're at that time.
Yeah, that's and I think I even told Master the other day, I was like, you walk into the office at 7 a.m, you're like, you don't really know what's going on. It was like literally the other day, like I walked in at 7 a.m, and the staff are fighting over who drank their Sprite. I'm like, guys, I'll go to Walmart, buy you
Let me just go buy you some more. Yeah.
So it's like
it's the small things. Everybody sweats the small stuff. You ever read that book? Don't sweat the small things, the little things, the small things, right? Everybody sweats the small stuff, and it is challenging. But I have to say, lately and I say lately, like in the past maybe year or so, you always have that bottom 10% of people in your business where they got to go, but you kind of struggle trying to find to replace them because maybe they've been there long enough to know the processes. But you realize it's a mistake to keep those people because they're just not the right culture fit. But with the way Jason has kind of changed the interview process with our team members, that's helped significantly. He's had, depending on what we're hiring for, he'll have them send in a video, interview about why they feel like they would be a good asset, for that particular position or whatever that is. We're interviewing based off of core values now. Do they seem like they'd be a good core value fit? Now, can you tell right away? No. But one of the, good culture and core value, you could tell by someone's personality in an interview. Are they bubbly? Do they seem by asking key questions too? A smile goes a long way, just the personality is huge. And we've kind of a little bit overlooked sometimes the dental knowledge or experience more so for personality. And that has been a game changer for us. Hire based off of personality, It was funny because I was telling Desiree, she's our financial gal. She's amazing. The other day I was going through McDonald's and I was getting a coffee and I went through the drive-thru and the first thing I heard was, "Good morning." And I was like, okay. She seemed nice and bubbly. And she was the same when I went up to the window to pay for my coffee. She was like, "Are you having a great day today?" And I said, "So far I am. And I hope it's wonderful. And it's cold today." But she just had this bubbly personality. And I told Desiree, I was like, I would totally hire her for one of my front desks. That is the personality that you want. Because let's face it, patients don't wake up every morning and go, "Oh my God, I can't wait to go see my dentist. It's the, best day ever." They're not excited about going to see the dentist. But when you have those personalities, those key people that make the patients feel welcome and comfortable, including your team members, that's the gold right there. That's what we're looking for. So we're slowly kind of changing our mindset around it doesn't always have to be experience. Hire the personality. You can teach them all the rest of the stuff. I can't teach you personality, but I can teach you the dental stuff. You can learn that and know it in 6 to 12 months, right?
Yeah, that's such an important thing that you just mentioned. I preach this day in, day out, and I'm like,
yeah,
hire people for their attitude, not for their skill set, because their skill set is something I can sit there and teach you all day long. But if you have a bad attitude, you walk into a room and you kind of the whole thing just shatters. Man, I can't change that. I can't teach somebody. And that's the biggest issue I have with Masood. Look at his attitude. Every time he walks in,
he looks angry.
I think it's the hair.
It is the hair, Mila. You don't know how hard it is to carry it all around. It's heavy. You can't feel it, man.
Wait, the facial hair or the hair on top of the head? Because I got the hair too.
Well, Milat got neither, so he
That's
wouldn't know.
true. You don't have it. Maybe it's just us then.
I have the eyebrows and the beard. That's good enough.
No, that's it. I'm glad I don't have the beard.
Well, that's that's the thing. And then I think we had when we had Dr. Brad on, and we brought Michael on, and we kind of talked about
Yeah.
the culture and all of that and the core values. So, as a director of operation, I'm sure that that's something that you work on day in, day out.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I
So,
meet leadership too as part.
yeah,
It's huge.
for
And when
sure.
you have practice managers,
So
go ahead, sir.
that's what I wanted to ask you was like, as someone in your role, when you guys kind of started it from that with Dr. Brad, like that one practice, and you guys grow it now to this 8
Yeah.
practice and more. How do you make sure that you're protecting the integrity of that culture and the core value that you guys build upon? Because that's something that is hard. One, it's hard to build it, and second, it's hard to keep it, right? So how do you
Mhm.
ensure that you guys are keeping the integrity of that?
For me, with what I meet with my practice managers monthly. I have individual meetings with them, and I have one leadership meeting with them. So, and the practice managers are key, right? They're leading the way because I can't be in 8 places at once. Neither can Dr. Hughes. No one can. So it's keeping that. It's accountability. The meetings are accountability. I have like homework that they have to send to me before meetings. So I'm not just checking the numbers because obviously the numbers are important for the business. You have to be able to have the cash has to be there. But I'm, asking about, our team members. How are the assistants doing? What help do you need with doctors? What are we doing with that? I have assessments for my doctors. I have assessments for my assistants and my hygienists. Like 5 key things that I just have my practice managers check. How are we greeting our patients? When we're talking to our patients, are we taking the proper x-rays? Are we creating value and educating our patients? Like, what is it? So I have always just this, and I don't have to micromanage and have every detail, but the small things that actually that create value and over deliver to our patients. But not just that, even including our team members, right? So you've got assessments for our team members. You have assessments for patients on how they're feeling. And that's the accountability because I get those every single month. I have an operations meeting every 2 weeks with all front desk and all my practice managers because I keep everybody on the same page. I talk about the same things. You're like a doctor. You feel like you repeat yourself constantly. Repetition creates consistency. It creates that security with the team members because I'm saying the same things. I'm requiring and expecting the same things from every practice manager, from every front desk person. It's that the consistency is key and you can't falter on it. You have to have those meetings on your calendar every month or every week or whenever you're having them so that they know what to expect every single time. If you're just meeting with them occasionally, then they're afraid. Everybody's in fear, like, oh my God, I'm doing something wrong. Why is she calling me into her office? Or, oh my God, Michal's here. What did we do? I'm always in the offices. I'm showing my face. And that's been huge for me as a director of operations to keep things organized because I'm not just a director. I'm a director. I'm a regional. And sometimes I'm a glorified practice manager and a front desk. Wherever I'm needed because we are still a young group and we're continuing to grow. Like I'm wearing many, many hats. Nothing is not my job. So I have to have my calendar set and the same expectations for my practice managers so they know exactly what I'm talking to them about every week, every day, and yet what I expect from them and the team. So when I go in an office, they already know what I'm going to talk to them about. Does that make sense?
Totally, Nicole. It makes so much sense. Sorry, I just have a lot of questions I want to ask you about
No,
everything.
yeah. I know I said a lot, so. Yeah.
I know there's a lot in there to discover. So going back to the hiring part, I'll start from there, then I'll get back to the leadership that I just explained.
Yeah.
I just tell you my personal experience and the things that I'm struggling with. And you have a lot of experience. You've hired a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So you know all the ins and outs.
Yeah.
Maybe tell me what I have to do right and what's the right system and process that, people that get early on into hiring other people. I've done a lot of interviews myself for being hired, but it was very recently that I got to hire for 2 different companies. So how do you find the right people? You mentioned that you look for core values,
Mm-hmm.
but how do you, what questions should you ask to find out about those core values? And how can you make sure that after you got a few individuals, a few candidates, that you start doing the second interview to pinpoint one and hire one of them? How do you make sure that you have a system that fully onboards that person into your company? And one thing that I tell everyone is that anyone that I hire, right off the bat, I tell them I don't want you to be an employee, especially because these are
Yeah.
people are early on in your company. And you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to just, you, for example, you tell someone go clean there, they just go clean there and come back. And then you tell them, why didn't you clean like the other side? It was like, you only told me to clean there, not the
Yeah.
other side. So
Bare
that's
minimum. Yeah.
exactly. They are very minimal. That's the mindset of an employee because it's not their
Correct.
work. They don't care. They're only doing it because you told them to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I leave it there. I said a lot. I'm sure you have good answers to the things I said and good things too.
So Jason, our HR director, he does all of the interviews, right? He's the one that sets the questions for these team members. And a lot of it for him is literally personality. The biggest, I guess, the one core value that he likes to use is action, because that is one of ours. And he'll phrase, and it depends on the team member who we're hiring. Are we hiring a front desk? Are we hiring an assistant? Are we hiring a hygiene? Whatever it is action when it depends on so if you were in this situation, how would you handle it? Are you, and I think the biggest thing is, do you just let it go, or do you take care of it, or do you go get your practice manager to handle it? Like, what are you doing to take action to correct the situation you're in? It just depends on what it is too. It completely depends on what it is. But I think you pick one and you go with it and you see the answer you're getting, and then you can move on to the other ones. I mean, we've got 4, and a lot of ours are mainly, I say and to be honest, you can't always tell a core value fit until they start. It really is what it is. It's more of a personality thing that we're looking for. When a second interview comes to me, then that person blew it out of the water with Jason. And I'm only interviewing front desk or practice managers now because he does all of that. If it comes to me, then I knew that he liked something about them. And then he wanted me to go in and basically spike the ball and say yay or nay. So for me, when I get to that point and I get to interview someone, I'm actually pretty excited, because then I know that I'm only asking personalities. And then I ask them, my biggest thing is, give me an example of a time in your life, whether it is personal or whether professional, where you feel like you were coachable. And a lot of it is with women, it's, well, when I was a cheerleader, or, because in cheer, like, you're just like, everything has to be, you're having to listen to your coach and I don't know what they call their little stunts or whatever that they do. But with women, it's a lot of that, because you want to know that team member is coachable, and they don't just know everything, because we talked about this earlier. There are a lot of office hoppers in the dental field, because it's like, they're all just trying to find that next best thing. And I don't think it's just dental. It happens in most industries. It's just what we're in. But it's understanding that, like, if you're coachable and if you're not, like, can I coach you? And then if I feel like they're coachable, then I'm telling Jason to send him a letter, get him hired. And then here's the key thing. You have to have an onboarding person. So we have an onboarding person, because I can't be everywhere, right? So I have a gal. She is the cutest, sweetest, bubbly. We could not have asked for a better assistant. And she's worked her way up into the role to be, she's like our clinical onboarding person. For front desk, that's my practice managers. But for clinical or anything like that, she'll even onboard front desk. Here are our core values. She's going over core values, going through, here's how you clock in, here's how you do all of that. She's giving them a tour of the office, showing them where everything is at. It's that person, that key person that has that bubbly personality to introduce you into that company. You got to have some, like, if it's not going to be you, the people that, like, you have the most passion, then you got to find one of your team members that has that. I could do it all day, and I would love that. But Dr. Hughes would be like, I need you to do this, though.
You need to prioritize.
Exactly.
So, okay, that makes sense.
Did I answer all of those? Because you said a lot, so I tried to get
I'll just ask follow-up questions about that. About the hiring process that you said when you are interviewing them. Something I've been struggling with, I find people that are close to what I want, but they're not 100% match. They don't.
Are you looking for 100%? But that's the thing. Like, I think, do you really need 100%, or is 80% going to be enough for you, and you'd be okay with the other 20% maybe not being perfect? because you're never going to find perfection. But if you got 80% of it, I mean, that's amazing. That's gold.
Exactly. That was my question. Like, how good should they be for them to be okay to come in and,
Clinic, like, what are we talking about? Personality wise, or are we talking about experience? What are we talking?
No, kind of both. And personality wise, you mentioned that they have to be coachable, but at the same time, some people are super nice. Like whatever you tell them, they're like, "Oh yeah, absolutely, I'm gonna do it." I
And
don't
do
want those
they?
people.
You don't want the yes people. You want the no people.
I want kind of like in the middle, like not no all the time because those people
Yeah.
are just not coachable. They can't work with them. And not people that always say yes to whatever, like they never challenge you. They never have any kind of thought process, any decision making within themselves to, go through something to fully understand it. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I think it depends on the role you're hiring for, though. If you're hiring someone in clinical, do you really want them to like challenge you? I mean, you want them to do the work that you're training them to do, right? Same thing in hygiene. I think if you're hiring on the business side, well, that's different. If you're hiring someone like me, if you're looking for a director of operations or even a practice manager, you want that person to have their own ambition, not just because what I'm telling them what to do. I want them to think of different ways to help grow their part of the business and that. It depends on what you're hiring for. You want challenge it to be challenged in some regards, but in other regards you don't. If you're hiring C-suite level people, then absolutely you do. But I think there's a difference between challenging you and someone who's just outright insubordinate.
Well,
That's hard to find that fine line because honestly, like you're not going to get that out of an interview. You can ask certain questions like, give me a time when you were coachable, or how would you handle this particular situation? You can lead into leadership questions, and they could tell you exactly what you want to hear, and you can hire them and they could be completely different. So it's all you can keep doing is asking the same questions, and eventually you're going to find that needle in the haystack, especially if you're looking for leader / challenger / I want you to say yes, but I also want you to, challenge me and or tell me maybe you have a better way of doing things.
you're totally spot on that. And, the one reason that you want people to challenge you is for the challenging jobs, not for like front desk or, as you said,
Exactly.
like one of the challenging jobs is business. Like someone that started just buying out practices, they don't know
Okay.
all. Like they want people that know more. They want people that would challenge them because
Yeah.
the journey that they're gonna go together, and there are many things for both of them to learn. So you don't want someone that's a yes, and that person is not gonna
No.
do anything.
You set expectations early on too. You have, depending on what role you're interviewing for, you set the expectations right away. You have maybe morning huddles with that particular team member to get them on the path of where you need them to be. Maybe they're faced with a challenge and you ask them, how would you handle this? And then if it's not the way you would, then okay, here's what I would do. Or you maybe just say, you know what, go try that and let me know how that works. You got to give them a little bit of freedom to allow them to challenge you, because sometimes people are going to be intimidated coming in anyways when they're in a leadership role, that they're not going to want to challenge you immediately. They'll be afraid to lose their job. But as you give them a little more leeway and you don't micromanage, you'll build that person into being what you want them to be. A lot of times that's going to be completely up to you and how you grow them into that. Unless you're looking for like a CFO or a CEO or a COO, like that, you're not going to get that right off the bat.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's totally true. And the other thing is, after you go through the interview process and you find someone that's like 80%, 70% match, and you know that they have the potential to grow that 20, 30% extra, how do you firstly put them in the system that you have to make sure they are operating efficiently? And second thing, how do you get them off that employee mindset? In so many companies, the people that I talk to, even though they're not the like business owners, you can totally say that they act like it's their business. Like, they care
Yeah.
more business than the business owner themselves. How do you create that? How do you get them to feel like that? Because it's a very challenging job. I haven't been able to do it.
Again, though, it's giving them the leeway to make decisions that you're not making for them. It's you gotta set them up so that they can be successful in that role. When you micromanage, they're never going to have the opportunity to show you what they can do. For me, for my practice managers, if you're talking about like I'm the director of operations, so like I don't really have anybody that I'm like training in that role other than my practice managers, right? Because I am that person. It's allowing them to, and you have to allow them to make mistakes, and they're going to. Obviously, not mistakes that are going to be detrimental to your business, but there's going to be some things that they're going to make a mistake on where they said something wrong to a team member, or they just didn't handle a situation properly, or there was no communication. But you have to allow them to make those mistakes in order to, coach them on, well, here's why we need to be paying attention to this. Here's what our focus needs to be. The biggest thing for me is when I tell them my why in the company, in the business, and why we do things, they buy in and understand that. When you just let them go willy-nilly and they don't understand the why of the company, you don't even know what kind of team member you're going to get. You could have a great one and still lose them. You could have the exact person that you want and still lose them. But you have to be able to spend the time initially with those particular team members, explain the why to them. It doesn't matter what it is. Why do we choose our core values? Why does our business run off the 7 principles of influence? Why is culture so important to us? Why is our main objective to be a doctor-owned and doctor-led dental group? Why? So when they actually understand the business, their mindset starts to think that way, and that's how they become the true leaders, and it all starts with you. You have to be the one to get them there. You have to be the one to coach them there. You got to give them the leeway, and you have to explain them your why so that they buy into that. Not everybody's going to buy into it. I don't have like a magic wand to be like, yo, here's how you do it, because there is no secret sauce or no magic, thing out there. It's you consistently. It's how bad do you want them to be that person for you, and how much are you willing to coach and spend time with them to get there, especially if they have the right personality. Leadership is learned. You just don't have it. Managing and leadership are two different things. People want to follow leaders. People report to managers. That's it. There's a big difference. You becoming the leader you want to be helps your team come along with you.
And what do you think it takes to learn leadership? Like, for any kind of learning, there's a lot of failure that you have to go through. So what are those failures?
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Hughes has let me make my mistakes. He has, and this is, it's why I've been able to, become the leader that I am. I mean, for me, so I have a practice manager retreat on March 7th that I'm having for all my practice managers, and I'm talking about leadership. And the biggest thing for me is we really focus on the 7 principles of influence and it's not just to influence our patients, but to influence our team members, right? It's when I'm explaining to them leadership is not about what you can do for me. Leadership is about what can I do for you. So when I'm talking about the 7 principles of influence, and I'm talking to, like, let's just say I'm talking about scarcity, or I'm talking to them about commitment, or whatever that is, I have a whole list. I'm not going to give away all my little secrets. I have a list of how I'm tying that into my practice managers and teaching them to be good leaders. Leadership is about trusting and verifying. Leadership isn't about micromanaging. Leadership isn't about taking, if someone's mad in the office and you got an assistant saying that person's not carrying their weight or they're not doing their job, and then you're going to that team member and saying, so-and-so saying that you're not doing your job. That's not leadership. That's gossipy. That's a manager, so to speak, right? It's thank you for bringing that to my acknowledging that from your team. I appreciate you bringing it to my attention. I will handle it, or whatever it is, I'll handle it. And then you go and you get your own information on yourself. Like maybe that team member had a bad day. Maybe they were overwhelmed or whatever. And it's about you getting the information yourself, and then about addressing it with that team member in particular. And you're not throwing anybody else under the bus while you're doing it. That's leadership. You're handling it on your own. You're not keep bringing other people in. You're not, well, so-and-so said this. Leadership is also, if you got 2 team members that are not getting along all that well, bringing them together. What is going on? We all need to be able to work well together. How can we do that? What do you guys think would be a good idea to help you two be able to get along more? What is going on? And a lot of times it's just you let them make those decisions for themselves, and then they'll figure it out and they'll work it out together. You're constantly telling people what to do. You're not going to grow a leader. You're just going to grow a yes person.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And by the way, I just gotta, thank you. I can't thank you enough. I was just writing down your points. I'm sure
Did that help? Or were you looking for
these are
something
gonna
else?
help me lots. No,
Good.
these are things that I never thought of. And specifically these 4, let them make mistakes. This is something that I didn't have, like mistakes wasn't allowed around me.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah,
Explain
you
your
got it.
why. That's
Yes.
something that sometimes I was doing and it was working, but I never noticed that that's the thing that's working, that's helping me to, be a leader for those people. The
Yeah.
other thing was people report to managers and follow leaders.
Yes.
So usually I have my team report to me, like, why didn't you do this? Why isn't this done? Why isn't this updated?
Yeah.
That's not nice. I can see
No,
now.
you know too, like anytime I have a meeting with any of my practice managers, I start off on a positive. Talk to me about your professional win, what's going well for you. And then I get in the middle of things that maybe we need to work on, and I always end on a positive. I'm always praising them for the good things that they're doing so that I can say, here are the things that we need to work on. What can I do to help you become better in that role and to be more successful in that role? Do you need me to meet with you more often? Do you need me to do this? So again, I'm there for them. I'm not just like, you're here for me. What can you do for me? That's how you start building leaders and people that are going to want to follow you and you're going to get that team member that says that's going to challenge you so that they can help you be more successful in what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Are you hearing that, Master? So stop telling me what to do.
I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. Like, geez.
No, I never go that route with doctor. No, he's CEO.
Yeah. Oh, he's your yes man.
Well, Nikhil, I mean, I really feel bad. I think we should have paid you for this. Like, this is so much money. Like, this shouldn't be
I mean, it's never too late. I could give you my Venmo.
for sure. I'm all down. Like, there's no committed. And one last thing, and
Yeah.
then I'll let Dr. Milad go ahead.
Yeah, he took over. Doctor.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
Usually on the podcast, I don't know if it's the right thing. I usually just ask my own questions. Like,
Yeah.
that's nice. You should be
Yeah, there
asking
you go.
the audience have, but I don't know.
Absolutely.
How do you when you hire someone and then leadership, don't be a manager, try to let them have mistakes, make mistakes,
Yep.
and try to give them a space for them to find their own path?
Mm-hmm.
How do you make sure they still stick within the system and the boundaries that you have? Because if you just let them astray, and then if it's like a desert that they can go whatever they want, it's very unlikely that they end up in the destination that you want them to.
Yeah,
So,
so systems, are you talking like having a checklist? What are you talking about when you say that?
something that I recently learned and this is something that we heard from Dr. Jeff Buski as well. He was like, system, process, people. That's something that's very important. Like, that's something that I didn't have for the last 2 to 3 years that I've been professionally like working for a company. And I realized how much I've lost because of that. How much I just tell people go do that, but there's no system to check them. There's no system, not that they would report to me, but you need to monitor it. You need to make sure because the task has to be done. Even if that person
Yeah.
is not, it's something that's needed for the company.
Mm-hmm.
So that system was never there to keep them in check if they are doing some mistake, at least to let them know exactly what the mistake is.
Yeah.
So that they don't make it later on. You know what I mean by that,
Yeah.
right? There has
Yeah.
to be boundaries.
Well, I mean, you got to have an accountability person at the office. That's a big deal. And you got to have a checklist. I have a checklist for my front desk for everything they have to do daily, weekly, and monthly. And it's all live. I can see all of the practices. And every day they're checking off what they like. If I need something in particular every night, or I need to make sure that they're depositing checks every night, depending on whatever the system is, there's a box they have to check in order for it to be done. And then I look for that box. And if it's not there, hey, then I'm calling, or my practice manager is making sure that's done. But you have to have that person in the office that holds the teams accountable to that. So no matter what it is that you expect them to do, because you're saying system, so I'm assuming are you talking about the business side, the front side, or are you just talking about
anything needs to have a system. That's something that I learned recently. Like, you can't just let things go naturally and hope for them to,
No, so we have SOPs for everything. We have videos that go along with the SOPs, so training videos. I have an entire Vision Dental Partners manual that I've created for all of the offices, and there's a tab for each department. Front desk, practice manager, assistant, like a F does if you have them, hygienist, whatever that is. So there's always a reference for that. And I have live checklists. So if you're somebody who needs to have the boxes checked, so there's that part of it too. Like, and you want to see what's happening, You're going to have the live spreadsheets that you can see at all times. And at any time, there's also dental intel. There's platforms for that, so you can see if the stuff's being done. We have dental intel in all of our practices. I mean, I also have Dentist for insurance, where I can see exactly what they're working on because each team member has their own logins, personal logins, things like that. You could see what people are doing. You just have to be able to verify it. You have to be able to verify everything. And if you're just going willy-nilly and waiting for someone to tell you, that's going to drive you nuts. You set the systems, you set the checklists, you set the SOPs, and then you have that little authentication factor in their own logins to see if they've actually done it or not.
Exactly. And, it's a total mess. Even if you have that system in place, it's still not a guarantee that, the project that you were doing or whatever goals you had for the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year is going to happen. But without that system, the chance of it happening is even maybe at least 80% lower.
Yeah, that's why you have check-ins. That's why you have to meet. And that's why, all of our practice managers have weekly check-ins with our doctors to make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. What was our case acceptance like this week? Here are the numbers. Here's where we're at. Here's who didn't schedule. Here's why they didn't schedule. What? And then we're going over those numbers with their doctors. Like you have to have that accountability person to make sure that stuff's getting done. And then that way you only have that one person reporting to you and not everybody in the practice. You can't have everybody coming to you. You're going to drive yourself nuts. You pick one person, and that is the person that you hold accountable to that. That's why they're getting paid for that, right?
Right.
It's
In the
your
tech world,
responsibility. What's that?
Yeah, I was going to say in the tech world, we name that person project manager. That's,
Mm-hmm.
to manage the project. They have to manage the people. They have to figure out how much, like whatever kind of project you want to do. If you want to, like if in dentistry world, if you have to do an analogy, it would be like how much you want to grow your practice by the next 3 months. They set out a budget. They set out a specific, with a specific set of activities that they have to do with specific deadlines. And
That's
then
why we have procurement. That's why we have a marketing person. It's why we have this, why we have financial. You have all those key people set in place to monitor, and then you got the key people in the practices to hold accountable what's going on in that practice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have 8. Like, I have to have that key person, and I have to be able to see those numbers in real time. You can't wait and have a P&L meeting a month later because you're not fixing what just happened. You gotta look at some of that stuff weekly so you can fix it before the end of the month. And the check-ins, the meeting structure is going to be key. You have to have a good meeting structure. And then you start crossing things off. Where are we at with this? Okay, well, I'm seeing these numbers. Here's where we're at. Are we collecting 98% of our net number? Are we doing this? Are we scheduling, like, what's going on? How many crowns are we doing per week? You got chart audits. You have to have a system for chart audits. Just, there's so many things. Like, the biggest thing for us is we sat down, and this was a while ago. What do we need the most of? What are our key KPIs that we need to be paying attention to at all times? Because as soon as you take your eye off of it and that number goes down, you're screwed. And then you got to spend that much more time and pay that much more money to get it back up, right? What are my key KPIs and who is in charge of those KPIs? I might be accountable to them, but I'm putting someone else in charge of them. I'm delegating it. But my job is to pay attention to what those are. And every department has their own.
I see. Well, Michal, before I forget, I really want to, express my gratitude. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
The knowledge you gave me, literally, it's going to put me at least 5 steps ahead.
Good. And you can reach out to me anytime. Anytime I'm here to help.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, I walked through the fire. I might as well help you. Been there, done that.
Fire. I'm walking right now, and I'm sure.
Yeah. It's challenging.
It's very challenging to set up a good team and a good company. By company, I mean a group of like-minded people that they have the same set of goals.
Yeah.
That's literally what company means to me. That goal could be anything. It could be in dentistry, it could be in tech, it could be real estate, whatever. It's just the same problems, the same systems that you have to set up, and it's very challenging.
Yeah. You got to celebrate the small wins, too. People have to know that you pay attention to the small things and not just, well, why didn't this work out or why didn't this happen? You got to celebrate, and they have to know that when they come to you and talk to you, that it's a safe space and that you're going to celebrate even something small like, hey, you know what? Great job, collecting from that patient, whatever it is, whatever that is. For me, it's like our company collected over 103% last year. I got a pat on the back. That's my job. I'm the director of operation. My job is to make sure we collect. My job is to make sure that we do this, right? That says a lot when we collect over that because we're working on aging, we're working on this, we're working on that. And when you celebrate that, it kind of gives you that extra. People want to work for you when you celebrate even the small things. because it makes them want to push harder for the bigger things. But you can't forget that. And leadership can be a really lonely place because people don't understand it. I very rarely get the pat on the back, but it's not just because doctor doesn't recognize it. It's because you're in that role and you're in it and you're like a leader in it. And I never forget to pat my practice managers or anyone else on the back because they need that in order to get to that role. It can be a lonely place if you're not there for them and celebrating those wins. You can't forget that. Oh, you're on mute.
Master, you're muted.
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. I just got so carried away. And this getting lost and being lonely gets even harder when it's very early on for you. You're starting something. It's just been a couple of years, and you're the only leader in the company that you have to train other leaders, and no one's ever gonna pat you on the back. You're always gonna be damn alone in that.
Gratitude. That's the biggest thing for me is every night before I go to bed, I say 5 things I'm grateful for that happened that day. It could be the smallest thing. I'm grateful I got my coffee today. I'm grateful for that glass of wine I had tonight at dinner. Whatever it is, gratitude, it will help you get there. Mm-hmm. Gratitude. You got to have the gratitude because not everybody has it's the Spanish word, the cojones, to do what we do. Balls. Not everybody has the balls. I just was trying to say it in a nicer way. To do what we do. Not everybody wants to. If this were easy, everyone would do it, right? Everyone and their mom would be doing exactly what we do. But if you're doing it to get the pats on the back, you're never going to be successful. But being grateful for every step of the way is what's going to make you successful, and you're going to build leaders out of it.
Exactly. That's totally right. And Michal, I got to say, at the same time, I'm so jealous of Brad Hughes for having you in his company. Dr. Robert is saying 3 times the salary, I think.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe you guys can't afford me.
I don't think we can. I don't think.
I have to say something. Hey, Dr. Brad, pat Michal on the back once in a while. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, he's actually really good at that. He really is, And I'm a woman, so you would think that I would need it more often, but I don't. And it's just I've been working with him from the very beginning. When he asked me, do you want to do this with me? Do we want to, hey, will you help me with this? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And he knew that there were going to be challenges along the way. But the biggest thing for me is he let me make the mistakes and he didn't, put me down for them. It's you know what? Oh, cool. Let's just move on. Let's keep moving forward. It doesn't matter. Great. The accountability he loves because I took accountability for it. But you know what? Great job. I appreciate you doing this and sometimes I see the appreciation when he's like, hey, I'm going to buy you lunch today. I love that. That's him showing appreciation too. But again, it's because I'm grateful for every little thing that happens. I acknowledge that every day. You have to. Otherwise, I'm just going to go work at Starbucks then. Which is not a bad thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't expect to get the pat on the back. It's nice when you do get it. The biggest thing for me is I have job security. And it helps when you feel that you have job security because you have job security because you know how much you're appreciated without being told every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, it's all the different merits that you get around what you do best that really keep you motivated. And especially as you mentioned, it's hard. You have to explain your why to other people very honestly and very friendly to them so that, they can find their own why.
Absolutely. And you guys have seen Dr. Hughes all over LinkedIn. Authenticity. You got to be yourself. Don't be someone that you're not. People appreciate it more when you're exactly who you are. It's a big thing. I'm very authentic with who I am. I'm very honest. I don't sugarcoat anything, but I'm going to be here to help you no matter what. That's my personality. You start building that trust with those team members and those team members never want to leave. Because the grass is green right there because you've watered it for them.
Mm-hmm. That's
hey, Michal, can you water my grass too?
For a phenomenal fee.
Well, my grass is very yellow.
See, this is why you have these podcasts and you bring on people that are in the same field, right, to help and kind of go through the challenge. We all face the same challenges. It's just some of us have kind of dealt with them, still dealing with them. But it's just you can't let yourself get discouraged by them because you're always going to have them.
Yeah,
people.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, when I was starting to think about when we start talking about with Master about, the whole putting the website of DentMen together, building like a dental community, and then this
Yeah.
podcast, really what my goal is, and to this day, like one thing that you mentioned that I want to talk about is, I graduated dental school 2 years ago, and I've been out for the past 2 years. And what I
Yeah.
realized is I work for three big DSOs, and
Hmm.
to this day, I'm still at work for one of the biggest DSO in the country. But one thing I mentioned is, and this is like, I'm going to say this on this podcast because I want to put it out there. I will advocate my life to change this in the industry. And I'll give anything, building Dentment is the first step to it. And then everything
Yeah.
else, I want to make sure that the industry is being protected from the non-dentists, because I believe that it will change the landscape of how dentistry is being handled.
Absolutely.
Because like you said, I want dentistry to be, the dentists have to run them and the dentists have to do the work. I hate
Yeah.
when I see these big DSOs that their CEOs are not a dentist. They don't understand, just because they
Mhm.
have a little bit of the business knowledge. They came in
Yeah.
and they're eating off of the back of this dentist. I am not okay with that. And I
Yeah.
advocate my life to this, that I want to change the way things are, because I believe that our industry is an amazing industry, but you have to be
Absolutely.
able to put it in the hands of the people that are dentists and
Hmm.
understand dentistry, understand what that dentistry is about, understands that patient management. And that's why, like,
Yeah.
bring on the CEOs that are dentists, because I enjoy those conversations. Those are the type of
Hmm.
conversation that I value the most. Because when I work for a company that their COOs or the CEOs are not a dentist, they come in and they talk to you about a patient. I'm like, you don't understand. What do you
They don't get.
understand? They don't get it. And I'm like, that's what what is challenging for me. And pretty much I'm going to put DSOs out of business. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm all
So,
for it.
Mila,
Do
you're
it.
directly saying that you don't appreciate me or Mikhail.
I, hey, listen, that's not what I said. Don't put
No.
words in my mouth.
First of all, you need people like me.
No,
And you need people like me.
Yes, exactly.
absolutely. No, what I'm advocating is the CEOs of a dental
Yeah.
company has to be a dentist. That's what I say.
Yeah. It's hard because it's hard. They don't understand what that when you go into that room with that patient, what it takes for them to trust you, like you, whatever that is, for you to even be able to do the work on them.
I mean,
They
just
don't get it.
imagine, ask you this. So when a dentist that works for Vision Dental Partner wants to pick up the phone and call Dr. Brad and ask him a clinical question, how convenient that is for that doctor to knowing that the CEO of Vision Dental Partner is a dentist. See
Absolutely.
the value, and then me having worked for XYZ company that their
Yep.
CEO is a non-dentist. You see there's a big disconnect and there's a big gap between that. No matter
Mhm.
how good that CEO is, when I'm going in the room and he's on the stage talking, I'm like, what do you understand? Just because you open 1,000 practices, it doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything to me, because you don't
No.
understand. You're not on a day to day. You don't understand what the doctor is dealing with.
No.
So,
They
and
don't.
that's so what do you think that the doctors that work for you guys value that when they see that the CEO is a dentist?
Oh, 100%.
There
I
you go.
mean, like, doctor just took some time out of his, busy schedule to be in Indiana to coach some of our young doctors too, to work side by side. Like, he's next to that doctor. He's going through verbiage before the doctor even goes into the room, how to talk to patients, how to create that value with the patients. Like, he's so passionate about the coaching side of it. I mean, it's why he's all over LinkedIn. I mean, like, these are things that we've done, the things that we're still doing. So when he's in these rooms with these doctors, like, it's just invaluable that they have him doing that, because no one else is going to know how to get there but him, because he's done it, right? The best advice I've gotten is never take advice from someone who makes less money than you do. They don't know how to get there. They're never going to know how to make more money or ever how to make that kind of money. But he does, but he's showing them how to do that by creating value and over delivering to those patients.
Yeah.
Like, it's a likability thing. The patients
Yep.
have to like you.
Yeah.
They could go to any dentist down the road, but what sets us apart from them wanting to come and see us? What is that? It's not what we said or what we did. It's how we made them feel. It's the same thing with your team members. You could say whatever you want. You could do whatever you want, but how does that team member feel? How do we make them feel? That's the one thing that they're going to remember.
Absolutely. I said this, I think we brought this up in one of our podcasts. The office that I'm in right now, if I drop a nail, I probably have 30 dentists around me. And I always tell my team, I'm like, it is not about, if a patient walks through the door, I don't do nothing that the dentist next door cannot do.
Correct.
The thing that's going to different us from the other one is like my personality when I walk into the room.
Exactly. It's
joking
who you
around.
are.
Exactly. Joking
You're
around with
selling
that
yourself.
patient. Exactly.
And Dr. Hughes talks about that all the time. It's you, it's your charisma. How did you make that patient feel? Did they feel like another number, or did you make them feel like they were just as important as the next?
Our patients are, I mean, these days, that's the thing. I think that's what has changed in our industry as well. I think that people are very vocal about this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some patients, they tell you in your face, they're like, you sound very corporate. They tell you.
Yeah. Well, they're not shy.
No, they tell you. They're like, you sound very corporate. You sound like, you're not relatable. And patients tell you those kind of things.
Yeah, and they'll point it out too when you've got that key person, that like one person that they like in that office. I like that person, or I like you. I love coming in here and talking to you. They'll point out the good at the bad. They're not going to be shy about it. It makes you feel good when they point out the good, because then you're doing something right. That's for sure. And you just keep pushing toward that.
Absolutely. Well,
that's the same with leaders. You got to point out the good so people want to keep pushing harder, because they want to make you proud. They want that pat on the back. They want you to be like, you know what? That was a great job. And they'll just keep pushing harder for you. There's what you need. That's what you need.
Master, I pat you on the back every day, man. Can you push a little bit harder? What are you doing?
Yeah.
You can agree to that on the podcast, but both know.
We can talk about that now.
For me and Master, this podcast are very therapeutical. No, I tease Master. Master knows. I tell him. I said, Master, you're the Trump. He has the red button on his desk. I know.
There you go. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Milad, remember you were talking about the living the past. My past was very horrible back when I was an immigrant. I am living your past right now, so there's no red button.
It doesn't go away.
It stays around. Hey, Michal,
well, one thing I was just gonna say, real quick. It's been about 4 to 5 years that I've been in Canada, and I've never experienced an earthquake. But while I was on the podcast I just did, and your words literally shook the earth from 1,000 miles away. I gotta say.
Yeah. I grew up in California, and there was one big one. I can't remember what it was. My little brother and I, gosh, I might have been like 8 or 9. We were walking to school, and the ground cracked in front of us. It was, the ground, it shook so hard. I mean, there was a lot of damage done that day. I think like the 605 freeway like collapsed, and all enough for the ground to crack in front of us was a little scary. But yeah, and then you have all those little aftershocks later too. So yeah, been there, done that. And I live in Indiana now, so we have tornadoes, which suck. So I think I'd rather be in an earthquake.
Wow. No, the thing that we just experienced, like it's, I don't know, it wasn't that bad, but it was kind of bad.
Yeah, but it shakes your nerves. It got you a little shook up.
A little bit. Sure, it was from you because I'd never experienced it. How likely is it that I would only experience it while I'm on the podcast with you?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just like earth's moving, earth's shaking.
I bet you are.
It's the power of Michal. That's what it does to you.
It's me. It's not the first time I've heard that.
I think you should start discussing your salary with Brad, Michal.
It's coming. He just doesn't know it yet. Well, when he sees this, he's gonna like, oh my God.
And if Dr. Brad is listening to this was all prepared because we want to ask for more money.
Yeah, exactly. Like this was set up ahead of time. I knew ahead of time all the questions and everything they were gonna ask.
We are pre-gaming him up for your raise.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Be ready. Good luck.
Hey, if he ever kicks you out, you have a home with us.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Everywhere. Like, it's not just us.
What'd you say? I'm sorry?
I said, I'm sure you have homes everywhere, like a lot of places. It's not just here.
Yeah, he would freak out. I couldn't leave that guy. No, he didn't know what to do without me. He'd probably be like, I'll prove you wrong. I'll hire someone else.
Vision dental partner, all of a sudden it just becomes vision dental.
No more partners. Exactly. I'm going to sell off all my practices now. No. Yeah.
Kelly's gone. We got to take the partners out.
Exactly. It's all because of her. Yeah, that's a pretty big ego if that's what I thought. No, I definitely don't think that, but it definitely would make it harder, right? You want to be hard to replace. Everybody's replaceable, but make it so that it's hard to replace you.
Well, honestly, office manager, director of operations, I think like especially office manager, I value them so much. They do so much. I think that like especially me, like I think if I didn't have a good office manager, I would be lost. I wouldn't know half the stuff they do.
Yeah, 100%.
I think honestly, I think the office managers in the office, they do a lot of heavy lifting. Especially
for sure,
because they deal with the hardest part of our job, and that's discussion with patient about the finance part of things. And I think that's such a sensitive topic. I think that right on his own alone, it's such a hard thing to do.
The hardest part of a practice manager is the leadership part. It's the leadership. That is so hard. Managing is easy. Leadership is not. It's not.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, you're seeing that firsthand.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's absolutely difficult when you're trying to deal with different personalities and trying to kind of bring people together. I mean, I still to this day struggle sometimes to tell people, hey, like sometimes my New York side comes out and I tell them, I'm like, I'm not here to babysit you, so leave me the hell alone.
So you get the accent, New York.
Yeah.
I'm from New York.
That's my Brooklyn side.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you gotta have a little feisty side. You gotta be a little bit spicy.
Well, sometimes people tell me I'm intimidating and I'm too feisty. I tell them, hey, it is what it is. I don't know what to do with that one.
Yeah. Kindness, yes. And then be spicy. To the combination. That's the.
Absolutely. You got to have both. If you don't, then, people just going to walk through you. And I'm like, I'm not one of those guys that can, can let that happen. Like I said, I try my best to be relatable to staff and be nice with them, but I always tell people, I'm like, there has to be a boundaries between being nice and being sweet and being kind, but at the same time being able to run the business. At the end of the day, the business
is... you can't be everybody's friend.
No.
There's a difference between being friendly and friendship.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not everybody can separate that.
No. And that's something that I think, I was telling my office manager, I think that's the other thing that I'm seeing in dentistry is, a lot of our assistants are younger. They're in their 20s. They don't have a lot of life experiences. And whenever you, as a doctor, get a little friendly with them, they take advantage of that sometimes. And if you don't know how to hit a break on those, it becomes a very difficult task.
It does, 100%.
Yeah.
It's like they feel like they can get away with anything, or they start taking advantage of that. It's a fine line. The quicker a doctor can understand that, the better off he or she will be.
Absolutely.
We've had those experiences, we know. And when you try to coach and talk to your doctor about it, they don't figure it out until something happens and they go, now I see why you said that. Yeah. Same for me. Same for me in my role. I love the people that I work with, but I'm not having drinks with them or dinner with them unless it's like a professional work dinner. I'm not going out with them. I'm not eating lunch with them unless it's something like that. Because you have to set a boundary. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to hold anybody accountable if they think we're friends. So, Michal, that's why Dr. Hughes and I aren't friends.
You and Dr. Hughes don't go to
boundaries, doctor. No.
So now we know because Michael was telling us Friday afternoon, you guys go in the room and start smacking each other and you guys get into fights.
Yeah, we just start yelling at each other. No. Yeah, you gotta, when you've been doing this for as long as we've been doing this we've had moments where we'll just like cry to each other and be like, holy crap. Cause you're like the only ones that understand. And then as we continue to grow and we've added people into our like leadership team, you still feel connected, right? Because it was him and I, from the very beginning. So there's that trust. There's that, like we know that person's going to get it done. Like there's a mutual respect for one another because look at what we've been able to build and who we've been able to bring on to continue that. Like it's, you have those little sessions where you cry together, where your management team cries together and then you just go, okay, move on. Metaphorically, we don't really actually physically cry. Maybe sometimes we physically cry, but it's hard. You have to have support. Your family doesn't understand that. Your spouse doesn't quite understand that, but the management team understands, and you have to have that support. Otherwise, like I said, everybody will be doing it if it was easy. It's hard. And you got to have those key people that you can trust on your team, on your management team.
Absolutely. Well, the last question I'm going to ask you, and I always ask this question too. Do you believe that the landscape of dentistry has changed post-COVID?
Oh, yeah. People, one word.
People's expectation has gone up by a whole lot.
Yeah, and then they want our expectations of them to go down. People want more, but they're not willing to give more. That's why you got to find those needle in the haystack. That's why accountability, leadership, and all that is so important, because you have to be able to read through all the BS, because there's a lot out there. But they're good too. There are a lot of good too. And you just got to steal them from other companies. Wink, wink. You got to take them from other companies. No, but for real, I mean, that's it. It's people. We're in the people business, and that's never going to change. You could bring whatever AI technology you want in, but there are still going to be people in this industry.
And Mila,
Well, hey, at least I know, like, with all the AI and stuff, I'm unreplaceable. So I feel good about myself.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not, I mean, I couldn't even imagine. Yeah, no. You are. The doctors are irreplaceable.
See, Master,
sure.
you hear that? I'm unreplaceable. You see that, Master?
I'm going to sleep this nice now, man. New pro.
No, you can sleep better now. You're not going anywhere.
Michal, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. I have to say this, Dr. Brad, you guys are Vision Dental partner. I mean, you guys have supported us. Like the Brad was very kind. Michael came on, you came on.
Yeah.
You guys are so sweet, so supportive of our podcast.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know that the future of Vision Dental partner is going to be super bright with you guys. I know you guys are doing amazing things.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I was just talking to a couple of D4s from my dental school that I'm kind of like friends with. I was like, hey, check out Vision Dental Partners.
Yeah.
I was like, and I was just talking with them about you guys. And even today, Dr. Brad brought up the daily guarantee stuff. He doesn't know, but I talked to a lot of young doctors. They reach out to me on LinkedIn because, I graduated recently. So they kind of relate to me. They want to kind of know my experience. And I tell them, I'm like, don't focus too much on the money side of things, because the bigger DSOs, they give you this sign-on bonus. Oh, we'll give you $1,000 a day plus 50,000 sign-on bonus to come work for us. But I'm like, 2 years in, you're going to look back and you say, I didn't learn anything. I didn't gain any knowledge. I didn't understand the business. I didn't.
Yeah.
So that's why I tell them, like, I'm so big now, even 2 years out, because I made the same mistakes. And I'm like, I tell them now, I'm like, look at this as smaller companies. Look at the smaller DSOs, because they will take their time and teach you so many things.
Correct.
That you're not going to learn from the bigger DSOs, because guess what? That bigger DSO got 17 managers, 18,000 directors. Even the janitor that clean toilet has a director.
Yeah, exactly. We took the time to do it slowly so that we could build it out the right way.
I know. Well, I can tell you that we'll see Vision Dental partner at every corner in America. We'll be here to support it. We'll be here to cheer back the Brad and you guys on, especially after you came.
And then I'm going to have my own podcast.
Hey, Michal, honestly, you should start your own podcast. Honestly, that would be a great idea.
I mean, people would like that, the operational side, right?
I think that would be, hey, I'm advocating for that. You should start your own podcast.
We can have you on my podcast.
Hey, good.
Well, how about this, Doctor? Why don't we just give this podcast to Michal?
Right?
Sure.
No, Michal Butler. She's not a doctor, but close.
Hey, Massey, remember we were talking about
episode 35, so, you're not starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, at least, and the other thing is that we can bring Michal back like once a month as a special guest, and she can teach us a lot of stuff. We should do that.
I'm here to help. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? That's why Dr. Hughes is sharing all of his knowledge.
Yeah, honestly.
Why gatekeep it? We don't want to gatekeep. Who can we help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Masood mentioned this before too. The one thing that early on in this podcast, they brought Edgar Jones on, and he said something that really inspired me. And I think every time anyone comes on, I say this. It's like he said, if I can help somebody and cut their time in half, I have achieved something. And I think
Yeah,
my goal with this podcast and the people that I bring on, really, I want to help those younger doctors that are coming out to give them that
absolutely.
ability to say, hey, like, don't make the mistakes I made. Learn from
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing, understand the dentistry
Mm-hmm.
side, understand what dentistry, the operation is about, day to day is about, so that they can be empowered. They can feel like they have somebody that they can talk to and they can turn into. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. And you got to have those key people that I'm like the silent one in the back that just keeps it going for Dr. Hughes. So you gotta you gotta
Mikel,
have those key people.
Mikel had to put that in there.
What make sure that's in there?
I'm going to edit that one right now. I'm kidding.
It's true though, you do. You gotta have
Yeah,
that person
absolutely. I mean,
or people.
yeah, absolutely. I don't believe that Dr. Brad would be able to do any of this without you guys. It takes a team to run an
Mm-hmm.
organization of that size. He's
100%.
one person. I always say it's no matter what we do and what we don't do, without a team, dentistry is impossible. So that's just
Absolutely.
given.
Takes a
So
village.
it takes a
Yeah.
village to do it. And well, Mikel, thank you so much for getting on here.
Absolutely.
I'm so inspired by you. Thank you so
Good. I'm
much.
so glad. I'm so
Yes,
glad.
your
Anytime.
your
It was
story is so
good.
inspiring. Thank you so
I
much.
Well,
appreciate it.
Michal, I was
Yeah.
also gonna say one thing. You are such a leader.
Thank you.
Really, I don't know if I should say congrats or pat you on the back. I don't think you don't even need that from me, at least.
Thank
Maybe
you.
from Dr. Brad. And you are so authentic and so funny. I was gonna say.
I'm a little bit funnier, but I was censoring a little bit. Next time
Oh,
I'm on.
okay, that could be
Next
off
time
the
I'm
record,
on.
or it could be VIP special.
Exactly.
Well, that's great. I'm sure you're gonna balance out the whole Vision Dental Partners.
I try.
Thank
I
you so
appreciate
much.
you guys so much. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
Mikel,
appreciate
thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, see you.
Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, same. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.